This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, leading the league in podcasting entertainment.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. This is a Fast Break Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Anderson. Alongside me, as always, is Dave Oster.
Hey, everybody.
Ricky Whitmer is on the IR. He's got a little bit of sore throat. Hopefully he gets better. We wish him well. But on this week's podcast, we are going to troop on, carry on. We're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers and their current streak. Are they pretenders? Are they contenders? We'll do that for a little bit. Other teams too. Orlando Magic, Milwaukee Bucks. We'll sprinkle in the Nuggets, Portland Trail Blazers, Memphis Grizzlies. Yeah, we'll talk about who's real, who's not. Then we'll talk about KD and the Draymond drama that's all going on. Is KD going to be a Warrior after the season? And if not, what are some likely spots that we like him to go to in free agency? And then we're going to wrap it up with more NBA draft talk and Manute Bolt's son, Ball, currently lighting it up at Oregon. We're going to talk about how he fits in the NBA and kind of some of his pro comparisons. One guy Dave likes to compare him to is Kristaps Porzingis. So how does he compare to Kristaps? Could he even reach that ceiling? We'll talk about all that on the Fast Break. But before we do that, please rate us 5 stars on iTunes. We got like 35 ratings. We'd love to see those go up. So if you have the time, go over to iTunes, give us that rating. It will help grow the show a little bit. I know not everyone can give to our Patreon at patreon.com/mostlypodcast, but going over to iTunes and giving us a rating is free and it is fairly quick. So if you do have the time, please feel free to do that. We'd greatly appreciate it. But let's jump into the weekly segment, Dave, of Wet Boys. We're talking about the soggiest of shooters, the dampest of dudes, guys who actually went off in the past week, had record-setting performances, had crazy weeks, had impressive numbers, just absolutely lit it up on the court. And we're going to start off with Ricky's Wet Boy, kind of fits into that record-setting category. LeBron James, the king of the Wet Boys last year in 2017, 2018. LeBron dropping 32, 8 rebounds, 5 assists per game in the past week, 58% from the field, 52% from 3. Like we said, the Lakers have been hot as of late. You look at them, 8-6 now. They've won the past 4 games. And LeBron also in the game against was it the Hawks that he did it against? Which game did he set the record of becoming 5th all time? It was the Trailblazers. He dropped 44 against the Trailblazers and passed Wilt Chamberlain for 5th all-time in scoring. LeBron James has been picking it up, and although I know, it's very early in the season, only 14 games played for the Lakers, some people are still throwing his name out there in MVP. It feels weird, though, that he isn't already the number one, and you have Giannis out there, Kawhi. It's seeming like a very, very competitive race for MVP so far.
Oh, it's crazy this year. Everybody, out the gates, this has been one of the highest scoring years, and it's kind of worked its way back down to the average, but there are just so many tremendous individual performances out there, and that's what makes LeBron James special, is that he's doing it on a team that, maybe doesn't have the ideal supporting cast for LeBron James, so it kind of makes it even more special.
But also, Magic put that team together with LeBron.
In mind.
But also kind of like LeBron, I think, gave him a little bit of, a short list of guys he'd like to play with.
So because Michael Beasley's on the short list for a lot of guys.
They played together in Miami.
He's been a bench cheerleader this year.
But I'm saying, they played together in Miami, so there is a connection.
When you're looking for
LeBron
hot free agent pickups, Beasley's not on the top of that list.
Well, and so is JaVale McGee and Lance Stevenson. I'm not saying JaVale.
We don't talk bad about that man.
But I'm saying, when you're putting together your free agent short list, and you have guys like LeBron James out there, Paul George, of course, up at the top is B-Easy and JaVale McGee and Rajon Rondo.
Absolutely.
But so far, Rajon Rondo has gone out, but the Lakers have still gone on, currently 8-6, I think 7th in the West, and on a 4-game win streak. LeBron, 5th all-time, mostly going to be passing Michael Jordan as well
this year.
As the season passes.
It's a feat of. I'll give you this. It's impressive what he's doing. It's more impressive that he is Benjamin Buttoning. He is reverse aging. He's in amazing shape, and he has never had a serious injury. Knock on wood. Honestly, that's more impressive to me. Mm-hmm. It's his consistency of play and the care that he takes, the incredible care that he takes for his body. Yeah, there's no one who's been comparable. Karl Malone was the ultra lasting big, but they're not even close.
Well, that's one thing too. Is you look at the guys that are up on this list. And, Jordan had a very clean bill of health. And literally
he had an injury in the 80s. That was about it.
And really didn't set the record for most points scored just because he took that 2 breaks. Obviously, in the middle of the first three-peat and then after the second three-peat. And you look at Kobe, he obviously had his knee surgeries, and he's really the only one in that top 5 that dealt with major injuries, because Kareem, the lowest amount of games he played was 65, but other than that, he was around 75 every single year. Karl Malone, like you mentioned, he was a guy that was very
mailman, always delivered.
Had longevity, and then obviously LeBron as well. So it's more of a longevity scat, but all those guys are absolute greats.
Yeah.
When it comes to the game of basketball, Dave, give us your wet boy of the week.
Wet boy of the week is James Harden. The beard is back, and so are the Rockets with him. While he may not be doing it efficiently, he's getting the job done. This team is 3-1 in the last 4, and the last 3 games especially impressive. He dropped 25, 40, 22, and 27 in these last couple of games. This team looks back. Like, he has brought the Rockets back from what they were at the end of last year. We're just going to forget that Carmelo Anthony thing happened. And, look, I'm going to get this out of the way. Carmelo Anthony wasn't all of this team's problems. Everyone was shooting terribly to start the year on this team. So, it's not just Carmelo Anthony, but the removal of him and the timely return of their defensive coordinator and their star players being healthy, it all kind of adds up. And this past week has just been the big, there you go. This is what the Rockets are. And they went out there and they beat Golden State. I know, shorthanded, but they really sent a message in that game. And that's what I love to see.
Yeah.
Frustrating KD with guys like Gary Clark and Isaiah Hardenstein.
And the one thing,
James Ennis,
too, is James Harden has been massively efficient.
No.
I mean, you look at the numbers that we put out there, 36% from the field. You didn't see the 3-point percentage, too.
We hit that a little.
It's 27.
Yep.
So he hasn't been massively efficient, but this team has still been winning. Do you think that's going to change a little bit from James Harden? Do you think we're going to see a more efficient James Harden? Because right now he's not in that MVP vote. He is the reigning MVP, and although he put up great numbers statistically and was getting to the line and made a lot of money, at least a lot of his points from the line, do you think we're going to see a little bit more of an offensive change from James Harden? We're going to see him pick it up a little bit, although obviously had a great week nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, he's been very hit or miss in these games. Obviously, the San Antonio game, he's 1 of 13 from 3, and against Denver, he was 2 of 10 from 3. So, he's hit and miss. I think for him, it's more so to find that consistency again in his playing time and those lineups. Now that they've kind of snipped off some people at the bottom of that end of that rotation, I want them to hit a 9-man rotation again because 8, his playing time's a little high, but no, he's going to get back in it. He's going to get comfortable. I don't think he's going to shoot above 40% from 3, but I do expect him in that 36 range, that plus 36 range, And
do you think we're seeing now, obviously we're not going to talk about Carmelo this episode, but you brought him up a little bit. Do you think that purging Carmelo is going to, obviously he's not the whole reason they had struggles this year, but do you think that's going to at least give him more of a confidence boost? Because so far, once they have cut that cord, this team has taken off a little bit. Do we think you're going to see the Houston Rockets kind of make a little bit more of a surge, and they're going to be near the spot that we expected them to be preseason?
Yeah, my concern is to not get over amped up based off these early results, because look, when you make a major change like removing Carmelo Anthony from a team, and he's a handful of games into the season, he wasn't a core to their buildup. But
even removing Trevor Ariza, Luka Mamute, and then even adding Carmelo Anthony, there was a lot of change going on.
But getting these role players to play up the question is, can they continue it? Because everybody was playing horribly to start the year. Chris Paul was inefficient. Eric Gordon was shooting 26% from the field at one point. It was just terrible. So no, I think that it's on the role players more so. James Harden is James Harden in and out. Chris Paul, same thing. Clint is the same. It's the role players that make or break this team, and if they can continue to get high performance out of them, then this team will be just fine. We'll be right back to where we were come the end of the year. They'll be a top 5 team in the West.
Let's go to my wet boy, a team that is in the playoff hunt in the Western Conference, the New Orleans Pelicans. You look at the star of that team, my MVP pick, Anthony Davis. Yeah. He's been absolutely fantastic when healthy. And this past week, he was healthy. 31 points per game this week, 15 boards per game, 5 assists per game, 49% from the field. I think he also was about, let me check, I have this actually pulled up. I had wins pulled up at first.
Yeah.
Let me go. From 3, though, 36% from 3 for AD over the past week. They were 3-1, only loss coming to the new look Minnesota Timberwolves. He also had 2 blocks per game in that week span, on those 4-game span, and then also 1.3 steals. Yeah. He's been absolutely fantastic. That's the reason why he's the MVP. When this team And when he's healthy, this team is going to be winning games. You look at when he's been healthy as well. Whenever he shoots over 30%, pretty much, whenever he shoots over 40%, they win. And the only games that they have lost is when he has had a bad game. You went 35% against OKC, they lost that game. 36% against Minnesota, they lost that game. Against Golden State, 37%, they lost that game. Against San Antonio, 38%, they lost that game. The 3 other games that he did not play, they've lost those games. But when he has been on the floor and winning, there's been 2 other games that he's been kind of struggling. He had 26 against Phoenix, but only went 38% from the field. They won that by 20. And then against Brooklyn, he went 31% from the field, put up 18, 14, 4, and 5. 4 steals, 5 blocks, and they won that by 2. And that was also when he started suffering that injury as well. But when he's been healthy, out on the floor, he's been dynamic, unstoppable, and AD is going to lead that team to a playoff berth, and we'll see where they spot out, whether that's like
asterisk
fifth or
on the healthy. Like his
8th.
enemy is the minutes played per game, and that's the thing is like they've got one of the best 6 men in the league with Julius Randle.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure that they don't overuse AD during the regular season. They need to get enough to make it to the playoffs, and then cool as jets. Let him play, get his minutes back down below that like 34, 33 line. Get him averaging about 30 minutes a game.
And so far he's
nowhere close.
Above that.
He's nowhere close.
right now it's looking about around 36 and a half.
He's hovering around that Jimmy Butler line.
Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he's
results are there.
Out.
I'd say the results are there. It's just, I'd like to not see him play that many minutes so early in the year.
Especially him having injury concerns early on in his career. You don't want anything to flare up. But Anthony Davis, if he continues to play a certain amount of minutes, he's going to put up a certain amount of points and a certain stat line. And we're going to see the Pelicans winning games and most likely lead AD to a top 3 MVP finish. And also, I think the funniest thing, and before we get into fantasy, the funniest thing, the guy who's probably leading the MVP vote right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo, no wet boy yet.
No wet boy.
And it's not a slight out of him.
No.
It's just, the other guys
I was a little spiteful today. Like, Giannis totally could have done it this week, and he had a good week, don't get me wrong. But that Bulls game last night, like, Ricky and I were going to record. Obviously, he was not feeling well, so we couldn't actually do an episode, but we did talk for a bit. And he's like, oh, Bulls are up. Guess how much the Bulls are beating the Bucks by? Like, this is crazy. Like, we're just rolling them out in the first half. And I was like, oh, awesome. He's like, wait, it's tied. I was like, wait, what? Weren't we just winning by like 18 points or something? He's like, and we lost. We got blown out. Like, how? Like, well, we're the Bulls. We don't play defense.
And the only reason why I didn't pick him was because they went 2-2 in 4 games, and AD went 3-1.
Yep.
So we always like to at least.
And
give,
that 2-2 stretch is like the worst stretch for the Bucks this year, right?
Yeah, and it's also funny too. Like Toronto, I think they're on like a 3-game losing streak, and they have 4 losses on the season. So the Bucks and Raptors look vulnerable now after 12 games.
Incredible starts.
And vulnerable is a joke because you even look at the Raptors loss against Boston. That was a tight down the wire
had a chance to win it. Right up into the end, Kawhi.
Yeah. But let's move into fantasy. Has not been a good week for the Fast Break fantasy. Still top is Mike 2K. I do want to give a shout out to the Big Ballers who had a 3-point change. They're currently at 94%. Philadelphia 76ers at 91 points. Team Grantham had a 3-point jump. They're at 91. That's your top 3 right now in our league. You also saw a 5-point jump from Kawhi So Serious. They're at 64 points, closing in on our heels. We're at 70.5 points. We are 7th in the league. I've started everybody. So it has not been my fault. Our team has just not been performing well. And that's also due to a lot of injuries. Danny Green had day-to-day injury. Russ has been out. Obviously, we have DeMarcus on our bench because we're hoping he comes back sometime soon and adds a different element to our team.
Yeah.
So far, it hasn't been working out. But
no.
Right now, we are middle of the road when it comes to we're 6th in field goals made. Field goal percentage, we're 5th. Free throw percentage, we are bottom 4. 3-pointers made, we're like middle of the road. We're about 6th. 3-point percentage, we're pretty much the same. I think we're at 5th. Rebounds, we're 6th. Assists, we are 5th. Steals, we are 6th. Blocks, we are near the bottom 4.
Yeah.
And then points, we are 6th. So, again, right now we are in the middle of the road of everything. We're in the middle of the road, the entire standings, and then every other stat line.
Yeah, so, we're just kind of holding steady right now. It's not great. I did love it in this past week's video, Banani Mathumbo, and tell me if I'm pronouncing that wrong because you are our expert on pronunciation around here as well.
He hit us up with a Bielitsa.
Yeah, which thank you. I'm not being sarcastic. I absolutely love that you're like listening and you want to help us out because we do appreciate that help.
And we are stupid.
And we're wrong a lot.
And also the NBA doesn't put out pronunciation guides.
It's really annoying.
They should.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So I did want to jump on this because he's been a proponent of the Andre Drummond is the cancer of free throws, and he's not wrong. So I keep hearing our rebound numbers we're not even in like the top like 2-3 of rebound numbers. Mm-hmm. So it's like, is it really worth it to have him around? Is he hurting us more than he's helping us?
Probably. Looking at I like using the PR15 stat. It just it's player rating stats for the last 15 days. And you look at Andre Drummond, and he does have a 6.25 player rating, which is decent. It's one of the higher ones on our team. Yeah. And that is because of his rebounding percentage. That is because of his points. I mean, he's consistent. I mean, he just had, like, you look at his last 5 games, 25-24, 23-19, 23-11, 23-22, and then 11-14. So, I mean, like, he's going to help us when it comes to points, when it comes to blocks, when it comes to steals, when it comes to rebounds, obviously. I don't really think free throw isn't like our killer. Like, we're not losing. Like, that's one stat.
Right.
Like, when we look at field goals made and field goals percentage, like, that's going to obviously be affected by one another. So if we have a guy that's a complete chucker, like, Donovan Mitchell putting up 35 points on 35 shots, like, that's going to hurt your team in 2 different ways. Like, it's going to help your team in field goals made, but it's going to hurt your team in field goal percentage. Right. Like, you want someone who's taking a ton of shots and then also being super efficient. Yeah. Or like 3-pointers, like a guy like Gary Harris, if he's taking 5 threes a game and he's shooting like 40% from 3, that's a guy you want out there, like a Danny Green.
Right.
But free throw percentage, I mean, it's literally like, I don't know if it's really going to hurt us that much because we're bottom 4. Like, we can tank one thing, like one, I think, category. And right now we're like middle of the pack when it comes to rebounds.
Fair enough. So who's the hot pickups right now? Or who's at the top of the list as far as free agency is concerned?
Weirdly enough, Terrence Ross is of the Orlando Magic.
Impressive year so far. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a good 3-point shooter. He's an okay defender. Yeah. Decent actually with the ball in his hand.
Yeah, last 7 days he's had about 4 3-pointers made per game. And in the last 5 games, 15, 4 boards, no assists, 1 steal, 1 block. 12 points, 7 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, no blocks. 22 points, 2 boards, 3 assists, 2 blocks. I think I already said that. No, 2 steals, no blocks. No steals, 2 blocks. 21 points, 3 boards, 2 assists, no steals, 1 block. 15 points, 7 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, no block. 15 points. I don't think it's moving.
He seems slightly above average, but not a game changer for us.
Do we expect that to be consistent for Terrence Ross? No, because he's been in the league for what, like 7-8 years now. Yeah,
he is who we thought he was.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair. Who else? What are some other names you could toss out?
I will say Zach Collins has been hurting us.
Yeah,
most likely could be dropping him.
Yeah, like we loved his blocks, but
he's only had in past 5 games he's only had 1 block.
Yeah,
last 7 days 5.3 points, 5.3 boards. 0.3 assists, 0.3 steals, 0.3 blocks. On the season, he does have 1.1 blocks, though, so we could look for blocks in a different way. I did pick up each one more just for the weekend, just because he has been hot. More. And when I did pick him up, he
went
games
cool.
of 30, 31, and then he had 13.
Yep.
And then, it hurts us not having, Russ out there. It hurts us not having DeMarcus out there. And it looks like we should have dropped Bjelica as well for Pascal Siakam. Because, right now that's been a bad move.
I assume Pascal's not available anymore.
No, he is 100% gone.
Yeah.
And I am 100% upset and crushed.
Yeah.
Should have jumped out in that trade when we had the chance, but we're dumb idiots.
Yeah, but you live and learn. Like, this is year 1 of our league, and I hope to get better every time and every week.
Technically, it's year 2.
I mean, technically year 2.
Exactly, it's year 2.
It's year 2. Fair enough. All right. So you didn't toss out. Give me some top names in free agency right now outside of
some interesting names. This guy has the second most ad percentage in our league. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Last 7 days, 14 points, 5.3 boards, 2.3 assists, 1 steal, 1.3 blocks. Not a guy who's going to hit a ton of threes. Against Portland and Milwaukee, he did have 2, but the past 3 games he has not had any.
Is he getting the line
for threes? Of course, they don't have those numbers.
I can take a look if you want.
Against the Warriors, he went to the line twice and went 2 for 2. So, and also free throw percentage, 83%. He's going to the line about 2.2 times, 2.6.
Yeah, and like his last 4 games, he was 3 of 6 against Portland, which really hurt. But 4 of 4 against Milwaukee, 2 of 2 against Golden State, 1 of 2 against San Antonio. Mm-hmm. So yeah, about 2-3 times a game. pretty good. I don't know. That could be interesting. I like Shea, and I think his role's kind of been expanding. So that's a maybe.
Here's another guy.
Maybe he's a backup guard. You know?
If we do want to get rid of Zach Collins, I mean, he doesn't have a ton of blocks, but he's getting blocks every now and then. And he is getting boards. Really might tank our free throw.
Oh God,
Tristan Thompson.
TT.
Last 7 days, 14 points, 13.7 boards, 2.7 assists, 1.3 steals, 0.3 blocks. And in the past 5 games, 19-16, 10-15, 22-12, 11-21, and 9-8. So, I mean, if we want to add Tristan Thompson, we can.
That's a weird team. Like, the points got to come from somewhere for that Cavs team, right?
Yeah.
How much longer is K-Love out for?
About probably a month. I think it was 4 to 6 weeks.
That could be a bold one. I mean, he's more productive than Zach Collins. And if we're saying screw free throw anyway.
Yeah, it's true.
Like I'm going to take the advice that he gave us and just go the opposite. We're going to lean into the bad free throw.
Here's another guy I'll throw out there.
Okay.
Has not been moving up too much. But if we're looking at blocks and blocks only, last 7 days, 5.3 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Mitch Robinson.
Wow.
New York Knicks. He had 9 blocks against Orlando. He's not getting points at all. But
yeah, they don't actually expect him to put the ball in the bucket.
But, I mean, if we're looking for blocks, I mean, that's probably going to be our best option. Or Nerlens. Nerlens Noel is another guy we could look at. Not a guy that's going to be putting up points, but he is averaging 1.4 blocks per game and about 5 boards per game. So
who plays more minutes between Nerlens and Mitch? Rob?
Mitch Rob. 18.7 compared to 14.1.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Nerlens has better defense, don't get me wrong. Mm-hmm. But Mitchell Robinson might have more opportunities, so I'm more inclined to lean that way.
I think we should just table it for right now. And
maybe come back to the TT Mitch Rob discussion for another time.
Yeah, I will say player rating has Mitch Rob higher. He's at 6.4 compared to Tristan Thompson's 3.5. So pretty
Tristan's had a bad start to the year.
Well, this is over the past 15 days.
Oh, okay, 15 days. All right, then. Yeah, that's interesting.
Been higher. Also, Jeff Green, Joe Harris, Shelvin Mack, Justin Holiday, and Terrence Ross have been higher.